importantly, how has this impacted your lives? Have millions of people feel like they know you intimately from a film that's really comprised of snapshots from your teenage years? Okay.
You go, Will.
Uh, well, I get recognition too instantaneously having recognition. I think the way it has impacted my life has, and I think I kind of said it in the movies, it's always good to be remembered to be remembered for something good. So it's impacted my life where I just love when I go out to certain places and people looking at you and they're like, man, you look familiar. It has impacted me in a way that I'm just been grateful to been a part of something so historical.
Yeah, it's been very impactful. From me to my family. Uh, just everyday normal people, who just recently, you know, caught wind of Hoop Dreams, never knew that it was out. Young people playing basketball now, and they, some kids always stop me, and they'll tell their dad or their parents like, "Yeah, I saw this guy named Agee at the court." And they was like, the parents would be like, "Boy, you don't know who that is? That's a legend. You met somebody famous, boy." Kids just be like, "Really?" Like, wow. Then, they actually go and sit down and watch the movie and understand what it really was about. But yeah, just being recognized, that was all good. But, I never really did this for the fame. Never, I was always trying to make it to the NBA. Whatever came off of it extra with Hoop Dreams, then that was gravy to me.
Yeah. The Hoop Dreams was created in the early 90s. It was kind of at the beginning of reality television, the real world. It just premiered on MTV, which, capitalized on certain like cultural voyeurism. Hoop Dreams was the first or one of the first films that was entirely made from video. And this is before smartphones, took video cameras in everyone's hands around the world. Since then, that ubiquity has led to kind of a performative intimacy. But Hoop Dreams was real, and it was beautiful, and it was unsanitized. And I've never, since seen anything quite like it. Do you think that Hoop Dreams could happen today? Or is it just like a product of that unique moment before everyone got cameras?
I think you just hit it right there. Everyone has a camera now. I think Hoop Dreams is taking place because the reality is the story didn't have to be Arthur and I. I think we were blessed to be chosen. But I think there's so many Arthurs out there. There's so many Will Gates out there that those stories will still continue to happen every day. I think what Hoop Dreams did was it opened up a window to, one, inner city living. Two, it shows families struggling to realize not just the basketball dream, but life dreams. And I think three, that it showed a perspective about how challenges and how families overcome those things. So could it be done today? I'm gonna say yes, because it's still happening. But I'll also say this too. Agee and I, we look at it this way. Regardless of how many films come out, we're like Lipton tea. We're still the original. Everybody else got to get on board.
Yeah, my answer to that would be no. Um, didn't nobody want to be on camera back in the 90s.
Mhm.
Everybody now, the whole time has changed and everything. You couldn't, that's why when you saw me on the basketball court on the west side of Chicago, it was never nobody out there almost. They didn't want to be on camera. Just from that fact of the camera being in the inner city, catching everything. And, that took some gall from our parents to even allow some cameras into our domain, our private domain, and to capture real moments as they was happening in real time. You get some, even, reality TV now, something happened, they'd be like, "Oh no, cut the camera, turn it off." No, we ain't turning nothing off. We finna film that. The lights off, we filming that. Williams knee surgery, we filming that. But I definitely know. I do think there are stories. There's been millions of Arthur Agees and trying to make it to the NBA's William Gates stories, since Hoop Dreams. But nothing can compare during that time of the 90s of how it opened the door, you know, to other films and to other things that, you know, people are something like a lot of people, a filmmaker say, we're not filming actors. People, you know, they say Hoop Dreams walked so these new documentaries can run.
When did you guys first see the film? And when that happened, did you feel exposed or did you feel proud of it?
Interesting enough, we both saw the film before it came out in our private homes. You know, and Agee and I, we both laugh about this because as we're watching the movie, people gotta realize they showed us like a 10-hour documentary. It was long.
It was
So
everything.
so we both of us spend most of our time fast forwarding just to get to our parts. So you know, people got to realize we were teenagers. I didn't care about what Agee was doing. I wanted to see how they filmed me. But the first official time we saw the movie was when we actually was in New York, and they invited both of the families out. And I just remember when the movie was over, they flashed the light up on us, and because the people who in the audience didn't know we were there, and I'll never forget the love and the appreciation that I felt from the people clapping because you don't know, it's your life. You know, if people don't think your life is, man, they could have walked out of that theater saying, man, that was terrible. But they didn't. And we knew at that moment, like, wow, we did something incredible here.
And I always felt like, wasn't no three white guys coming into my neighborhood filming us for that many years and wasn't none gonna happen. That's all I always say. I'm like, something gonna happen with this film. All I gotta do is stay out of trouble. I just can't get fall into the pitfalls of the environment that I'm growing up in. I can't get caught up in no drugs, no gangs, none of that. So I'm like, I got to live long enough to see what this film is gonna do because every year they kept filming. And you just sitting there like, man, when is this thing gonna come out? Like, what's going on? And so
Well,
when it finally,
actually, it's even before that, Agee, because I think what people forget, they came to us and asked us, could they do a 2-week documentary, 2 weeks of filming? They
yeah,
said, we want to show the world how you go from, this was the original thought. We're going to show people how you go from street basketball to organized basketball. And after
yeah,
2 weeks, they came back and said, we think we got something different. Would you all be open to filming some more? And of
some
course, you
more.
know, we're 14. We're like, whatever, let's do it.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was just crazy to be filming every year like that. And you know, being around the cameras like that, you know, I kind of really, you know, let my hair down and kind of, you know, drew that board down to where I let those filmmakers really come in and really see who Arthur Agee Jr. really was.
Okay, for the next question, I want to mention something that happened just yesterday. And Arthur's hat gives some slight thing away about it. So for the first time since Hoop Dreams was shot, Marshall went back downstate. And this time they won the state championship. How was that?
Hey, what a week. You understand? What a week I have had. Um, Marshall Commandos. Yes, Marshall Commandos, this year's team, varsity team, finally got back to U of I, University of Illinois Champaign, to win the Class Boys 1A state title. And they did it in tremendous fashion. I wasn't able to attend the game, but I made sure when that bus got back in front of Marshall High School that I was going to be there to greet those young men and the coaching staff. And when I got there, ABC 7, Channel 7, local news, they had a newscast out there, uh, you know, filming the guys as well, wanted to interview them and, you know, talk to them. And, you know, just, man, it was just overwhelming yesterday and so happy. And then after that, my junior college, Middle Area Junior College, won the region, the Midwest region, to go to Hutch for nationals.
Wow.
And Middle Area Junior College played here in Chicago against Malcolm X Junior College and we thrashed them. So I was able to get there for that game too. It started at 7. I got there at 7:30. They was already up 20. What a week.
Okay, so after you went down to St. Marshall, you mentioned in an interview that you have to sacrifice, quote, sacrifice everything you have. If you love the game of basketball, you just go out there and give all of your heart. So
That's it.
Worth it to you.
That's it. I mean, that the words speak for themselves. Mr. Luther Bedford said, if you love this game, you know, every time you step on the floor, I need you to give 110%. And no matter how the chips may fall, the mistakes you make, the good plays you make, the bad plays, you got to suck it all up and take it all in. And, you know, at the end of the game, when it's all 3 zeros on the clock, you can look back and say, I know I gave it my all. I gave it 100%. And I was proud of that. Even though we came in 3rd place, you know, we didn't win the state title that year, but it was proven that Marshall, you know, we made a point in the city of Chicago that Marshall Commandos are something to be messed with.
Yeah. All right. So William, something that you said in the film that stuck with me is when you talk about your early days at St. Joe's, when you quote, slept, ate, and drank basketball, but it became more of a job than a sport to play. This is in high school. You know, I think back to my high school years and, you know, we're about the same age. I think, you know, I was a total moron when it came to priorities and life wisdom and just watching it now. In my mind, it feels like you were too young to be forced to reckon with these big life lessons. Is that true in your mind?
Yes and no. I think if you're going to be great, there's certain expectations that come with that. But I also think within them expectations, there should be things in place to help guide you through it. And I think that's one of the key pieces that was missing at St. Joe's. And don't get me wrong, I'd say this, God rest his soul, Coach Ping, he's no longer with us. I've always said this about Coach Ping. He's the best coach I've ever had because he taught me the game of basketball without a doubt. But what he did, and it just wasn't him. We're saying this a lot even in the game today. Our older coaches, it's hard for them to adapt to the new style of play, the new thinking of these players. And I think when I got there, he was trying to adapt old school mentality to a new school type player. And 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 it clashed when the knee injury set in. So that took the fun out of the game for me. But I had to rediscover it because what I learned along the way is that I can't allow coaches thinking to be my thinking. But that's hard when you're a young athlete. It's hard to not let the coach influence you in every way because, you know, as you're coming along, I mean, if you guys could hear the things that he was telling me, Will, you the next Isaiah Thomas, Will, listen, man, you listen to me, I'm going to get you here. Man, listen, one of these days, and this is where he really got me at, one of these days, your jersey is going to be hanging up there in the rafters. I believe that you're that great. So I'm taking it all in, you know, and when a knee injury occurred, all that failed. And so that took the fun out of the game for me, and I had to rediscover it.
Um, would you agree with Coach Chang's assessment that you never fully bought into the system?
Well, I think if you're an athlete, you never fully buy into anybody's system per se, because one of the things for me is you recruited me out there because of the way that I played. So if I completely buy into your system wholeheartedly, then I lose who I am as an athlete. Uh, but I think when Coach was saying that I didn't fully buy into the system, I think he was saying you didn't let me guide you 100%. Well, shoot, I got 4 kids and they don't buy into my system 100% completely. you know, and so I just think that what Coach Payne was missing during that time, and I get why he was missing it because he's had success with other guys,
Mhm.
but he should have. He, he's sometimes to me, just have a conversation with me, and I can get it. But we didn't have conversations. We had it was more. We had dictations. Hey, this is what you're going to do, and this is how you do it, and that's how I went.
Hey, let me add to that. Luther Bedford was like this. If I curse you out, that means I love you. Now get out there and go play.
But you see the difference. Like when you watch the film, you see that difference with Coach Ping and Coach Bedford. We get on the bus, it's quiet. We can't say nothing. Coach is like, focus on the game. We're already focused on the game. Agee and them get on the bus, they're loose. They're free. They get to enjoy one another as teammates. They get to talk with each other. I didn't experience any of that until I got to college, when we got on the bus and we talked to each other. The bus rides were just like how you saw in the film, and then God forbid if we lost on the road. Oh,
Yeah.
he would get on the bus like and say, I can't believe you guys are talking. You just lost. You should be thinking about what you did wrong. It's like, what? Teenagers.
We both have such strong, beautiful mothers who are both still with us. And seeing that in the film affect your relationships with them.
Wow. I think with our moms, like my mom in particular, she's always been this protector. So that's why you don't even see her a lot in the movie. One of the most funniest quotes I've ever heard my mother say, she said, if she'd known Hoop Dreams was going to be this good, she would have had more parts in it. So, my mother was, she was intentionally staying out of it because I think, like Agee had mentioned it to it earlier, you got 3 white guys coming into Cabrini Green and the housing project in Chicago talking about, we want to film your kids. We didn't know them from Adam, except for, they had a camera and we didn't even know what the scope of it was going to be. So I'm grateful that my mom took that approach to, like, I'm not going to be in it. Let me watch you. Let me protect you and be that force behind you to catch you if anything goes wrong.
Yeah, Mama Agee, she was Mama Agee had her own dreams. She wanted to become a nurse, and she was more so all in 100% because I was all in, and she was like, I can't have 1 feet out and not support my son fully. But as you can see in the film, she was all in, and once she understood that they're not just filming me and the family, they focused on her and her dream as well, which I think she very much was receptive to and wanted to show that young Black women who are on welfare, have goals and dreams that they want to, but it's just these little baby steps that they have to take to get to those goals and get to those dreams. And I think she showed every strong Black woman in the world, that you can sustain, that you can overcome whatever your shortcomings are in life and trying to survive. 3 kids living on welfare in the hood. So Mom did a great job. None of us, got killed in the street or anything like that. So she did a great job raising me and my brother and my sister.
So Agee, let them know, man, that your mom's a survivor too.
Yeah, Mom's is a survivor. I don't want to take too much away from that, but she's she has stage 4 lung cancer. She had COVID, 2 broke hips. Right now she got vascular lung. So, but Mom is still fighting. She's there in her right mind. But she just God has taken away all her friends, everyone she's grew up with in Chicago, and she's the last one still living. And she always asks herself every day, why am I still here? Why am I still here? And I say, Mom, because he wants you here, because you got other things to do, other people to inspire.
Hello, how's it going? Thanks for doing this talk, by the way. I had a question. You mentioned how your families were open to the clandestine in your households. How did your teammates or classmates like it?
I think, but I think my teammates, they would less like, they didn't really understand the concept of it. So they was just like, oh, these cameras here filming Arthur and seeing his, following his hoop dream. So I'm going to just, being his teammate, I'm going to just tag along and, just be his teammate. They didn't really understand the whole aspect of just a camera following us, game after game, practice here and there, until it came out. And once it came out, they felt like they were stars. They was like, oh man, I get recognized too. Man, you was Arthur Agee teammate number 42. Number... so they revel in it now.
I think my teammates were a bit different. You gotta remember, I went to a basketball powerhouse. So here, first of all, I'm dealing with a whole different realm of situations. I come in as a freshman and I take a senior spot. So that's one aspect I'm already dealing with. Then I'm from Cabrini Green. They're looking like, okay, who is this young black kid coming all the way from the hood, coming out here to our school? And now he got a camera with him. So there were rumblings like, man, why they filming him? Why they should be filming me? I'm the All-American. Like, this is stuff that I'm hearing. So, so I'm fighting. Like, if people really knew all the battles that, I had to fight at school every day, sometimes I just go like, man, how did I survive all of that? But yeah, it was tough at times to the camera would show up and have to give an explanation why they're there, or it was difficult, especially the latter part of it, like going to sophomore year, trying to see who's your real friend, who isn't your real friend. It had its moments. I didn't get that, like Agee got, where, like I say, he had those guys that loved him. Because here's the thing too, and I hope, sorry for being long-winded with your question, but here's the aspect that I think that was missing. Even though Agee had to go back to Marshall, he went back home. I wasn't home. Like, I didn't live with my mother and my brothers and sisters during high school. I stayed with my sister and her husband out where they lived. So that was another element of trying to put all of this together to get the dream.
Yeah, that doesn't, that's not related in the film, that you weren't even living at home while you were at St. Joe's. That's crazy. All right, let's move on to another question.
Thanks so much for doing this. I was thinking a little bit about the basketball and the cultural moment this film is made in. This is like the rise of Michael Jordan with the Chicago Bulls. And I was thinking about, purely in terms of basketball, not the filmmaking, which we touched on earlier, is how different would the story be in today's culture, today's with the role of basketball plays in culture equally or arguably larger than at that time, but now more international, more institutional, more media attention. How different would it be, or at the level of a kid just trying to make it in the sport? Is it similar?
It's an interesting question. First, let me start back in the when the film was made. During that time, one aspect that was all that I don't think the film didn't really address, but it showed it without addressing it, is that there were people who, like, say, lived in New York or lived in Seattle or lived someplace. They didn't know what was happening in Midwest. So when the movie came out, it exposed them to, man, that's how them dudes are playing in Chicago. Oh man, that's how those dudes, that's how they getting down out there. So it opened up that window. Now, if you take that and apply it to what is happening now, well, all you got to do is go on YouTube or Instagram or somebody's feed, and you're seeing instantaneously what different kids are doing. So I think what young kids got to do today is they got to find their level, where what it is that they're trying to become great at in terms of the sport itself. So, like, I used to tell my boys all the time, I'm like, hey man, you want to be jump shot shooters? You need to watch everybody that shoots a jump shot. Look at their form. Look how they get open. Watch how they pounce the ball. Watch how they pass the rock. If you want to be a great ball handler, you need to start watching guys how they handle the ball. Watch how Kyrie Irving bounce that ball. Watch how Steph Curry bounce that ball. What I think has happened today is there's more filming than there is observing. Everybody you see a kid now, you could see a 6-year-old kid, and they're talking about he's the best player for the class of 2042. And I'm just like, what in the world? So I just think kids need to get back, and Agee speaks to this a lot. Kids got to get back to the love of the game. Right now, we're playing for the clicks. They're playing for the money. They're playing for the spoils in the sense of the game as opposed to the love. And we play for the love.
Yeah, to answer that, basketball is different today, but I always say, a kid needs to fall in love with the game on his own. A parent shouldn't have to push a kid, get him up early in the morning. He should want to do that on his own. At some point, the game became an obsession to me because I looked at my environment and I said, shit, if Isaiah Thomas can do it, I can do it. So I'm going to follow his path that he's laid. And whatever happens on this path, it's just going to have to happen because that's the end goal, is to get to the NBA. And I'm talking about falling in love with the game to where I would ride a bike from my house from the west side of Chicago to St. Joe's in the suburbs just to save 90 cents so I can eat some after practice. I would get up Saturday mornings because I was a class clown. I would have detention on Saturday mornings before we played our Saturday games. I'm talking about the love of it. What would you do when you're back up against the wall and it's telling you, here's your dream over here, but you got to go through all of this to get to your dream. And it's still not guaranteed what you're going to do. I'm being from the west side of Chicago. There's not too many people out here that's stronger than mine that has been faced with adversity early on and looked at in his face. I'm talking about from gangs to drugs, things that I just could have made one simple decision and you would have never heard of Arthur, Agee, and Hoop Dreams. So I'm talking about.
Let me add this too, though. Let me add this too. I want you all to know this too, that Agee and I, we love this game still to this day. So when we observe it from the place that we at now, obviously we see it different. And I recognize that there's young people, because I watch my boys go through it. They end up playing collegiate basketball, all three of them. I watch them. And, my son, who is 30 now, called me 2 days ago, was like, hey, he's watching some of his old high school films and stuff like that. He says, Dad, now he's 30. He says, Dad, I finally see what you're saying. Sometimes it's just that it doesn't click like we want it to click. And so I do think on certain things, you could push a little bit, but until it clicks with them, we got to wait and see what happens.
And every ball player saying Chicago, if you could make it in Chicago, you could make it anywhere. So this new generation of basketball has played, we could play anywhere. EYBL circuit, any of these AAU circuits that they got. If you from Chicago and you got that in you and you've been tested, your will has been tested, you can make it anywhere.
Right. Any other questions? We have one over here.
Hi, thank you for taking the time to do a Zoom interview with us, first of all. And thank you for doing the movie. I have a two-part question. First is for Arthur, the second is for both of y'all. When you had to leave St. Joseph's to go back to Marshall to play, how do you feel that affected your evolution as a player? And do you feel it was better or worse for you? And the second part, do y'all ever sit down and think about if y'all had stayed together at St. Joseph's, what y'all could have done y'all senior season?
Question, great question. So it's two. For one, when I had to go back to Marshall and they let me go, I was so mad at Pingator and the whole school because they was denying me a chance to play with my brother. Even though he was on varsity already, I'm like, I'm starting off on freshman, but in these next 2-3 years, I'm going to get there and play. We're going to be the point guard backcourt, baby. And when they did that to me, it was depression and it was anger. And it was like, it all just turned into motivation. And it was like, that's the first time that I had to deal with, oh, you're not good enough. There was rejection. And I felt like, oh, y'all didn't think I was good enough and you denied me from playing with my brother? Now it just turned into internal motivation. Now I'm gonna make y'all eat those words and eat that whole kicking me out of school and sending me back to the hood. So now I'm gonna get to Marshall and I'm really gonna turn up. And man, had we stayed together, me and my brother probably would have had, he come back in his late in his junior year. Well, just senior year, we would have went downstate. Sean Pearson wouldn't, that Nazareth team wouldn't beat us at the school. I wouldn't have let it happen. I would have broke a leg. I would have broke an arm. Like I would have broke a teeth. I would have been diving on the floor. Like I was that relentless, about that. And the movie would have totally been different. The movie would have totally been different had me and him stayed together. And that's crazy that you asked that question, because a lot of people always like, man, I'd just like to see if y'all would have stayed together and played together, what that would have looked like.
Now, I'm gonna be the opposite of that. I'm glad Agee left, because I think if he doesn't leave the way that Coach Payne coaches the game, I don't know if he would have made opportunity for Arthur. I don't know if we would have gotten to see the Arthur Agee that everybody knew was there. I think Coach Befford brought something different out of Arthur that I don't think Coach Payne could have. Now, when I tell you there's another element to the story where when he left, I'm looking like, what am I supposed to do out here now? Like we came in here together. I didn't know. Like I remember going into Ping office and saying, man, is there something you can do? I'm like, man, we rode here together. That's my brother. But it's like, giving me all these excuses. I'm like, then how am I still here? I don't understand. And that's when he introduced me to the Weir family. Well, this is why you said, I'm like, is there not another Weir family out there somewhere? Just got a different name? So I think I've always said this. If St. Joe's really wanted Arthur to stay, they could have made arrangements for him to stay. But I'm glad that, not that he had to leave, but the fact that God set him in a place when he went back home, Coach Befford, and you all hear it in the movie when he say, hey, I had two of them there. I chose the one that didn't give me the most trouble. And you need somebody to love on you like that, to build you up, because he went through a depression stage. Like, again, this isn't in the movie, but there were times when I would leave St. Joe's, just hop on the Jackson bus, drive down the street, hoping I would see Arthur at the park. And there were times he was there, and I would get out and we would hang and we would play. So now, to answer your question, do I think we would have dominated? Absolutely. Absolutely. Without a question. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Because here's the other thing a lot of people don't know. Agee and I knew each other before we went to St. Joe's. We used to play in the same grade school tournament. So I knew how he played and he knew how I played. So that was the goal. Like when we were sitting on the bus riding to school, that's all we talked about. Man, we gonna turn this school out. Man, they gonna remember our names forever coming from here. Like,
hey, and just to add to the point guard that was actually playing with William, that dude couldn't hold my jock strap. You hear me? I was taking his spot. We out on the court, Pingator telling us to do this and that. Hey man, we ain't worried about what Pingator talking about. We finna put the ball in the basket and we finna win this game. Get the ball to Will, get it to the big man, and let's go. No, run a motion offense, man. Out of here with that motion offense, man. Put the ball in the basket.
Here's the other thing that's mentioned that a lot of people don't know. My senior year, the reason that it would have been so sweet if Arthur would have played, I would have had somebody to play with. Those guys that came up my senior year, that was the first time I seen them. But I didn't know them. Like they came from the younger team coming up. So I was the lone senior. I mean, we had a ball, but the ball didn't play. He came on his senior year. So basically I was playing with a brand new team. And it's funny, the people that Agee and I came in with, none of them made varsity. So I never had any guys from my class that I ever played with at St. Joe's.
Wow. Okay, so how can folks here follow you, support you? I know there's a podcast. Tell us a little bit about that and other ways that folks can support you.
Well, we have the Agee and Gates podcast, Hoop Dreams podcast, where we are talking about everything from sports to films. We've had some amazing guests on there, from Jamal Crawford to Terry Crews. It's just been an amazing, adventure for me, reconnecting with my brother here. The other thing is that what I love is, and he could talk more about this, my dog has a clothing line, but I have a book out. It's called Hoop Dreams, Fifth Quarter. Dreams Don't Die. And, you can get that on Amazon, or if you like an autographed copy, you can hit my website, which is hd-22.com, and we'll get that book out to you. But the book talks about, the last 30 years up until where we are now.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been I've been in love with fashion. I think I've tried to get a job at every damn sports apparel company out there, from the Nike to the Adidas's to I done sent my resume in, and nobody gave me an opportunity. So you know what Arthur Agee said? Well, I'm gonna start to do it on my own. I don't need none of yous. So since 1999, I've just been rocking, designing, building the brand. My use the HD logo is actually Live Your Hoop Dreams, Control Your Destiny. But we have the Hoop Dreams, name and the podcast and everything. But that's my motto to every kid, anybody. It's not just a basketball dream. Whatever dream they got in their life, we want you to live your hoop dreams, control your destiny. The podcast has been going on now for 4 years. We've had some great guests from all ranges of the industry of life.
Documentaries. We had documentary persons too.
Yeah, showrunner producers, from actors, basketball, from all walks of life. And we didn't have the Isaiah Thomas, my idol, on the show, Juwan Howard, Ray Jackson, Jamal Crawford. I mean, you name it. You look at our slew of guests that we done had. See that ABA ball that's sitting right there? There's a ABA has just released a movie on the ABA history on Prime Video. We had the directors on our show who made that. We just released that episode. Now this
Also, I wanted to show y'all this. I'm wearing an Agee original.
Nice.
I designed that hoodie.
Yes.
So it got both of our logos on the sleeve, and I designed that hoodie in the black and orange. But here's the kicker to everyone. Me and William Gates, and I had to pull his teeth to come in and do this one because this is my brother. He's real skeptical and be like, I say, Will, it's the 30th anniversary of Hoop Dreams. I think there needs to be, and we need to do this. Like, we don't need to go and partner up with the guys who did the first one and do a Hoop Dreams 2 in-depth update of what happened when the camera stopped rolling. So we are filming Hoop Dreams 2 right now.
And it's going to have so many different elements. And one of the things, yes, it will catch up with our stories. It will feature our families again. But what it will also have is interviews with how Hoop Dreams has impacted other people's lives. And what it will also do is it's going to show that other side too of the other Arthur Agees and William Gates out there who did everything they were supposed to do and didn't make it for whatever the reason, whether it's an injury or whether it was, an accident. So I think it's going to be really great. And the title of it is More Than a Dream.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
And I want to applaud the audience for coming out in the Crandell Theatre. Me and William Gates wish we could have been there. So I just want to applaud everyone in that theater for coming out, watching our story. If you've seen it before, thank you for coming out, watching it again. Please follow us, Instagram, atThe, Agee, Mr. Hoop Dreams, William Gates, Hoop 22 Dreams, on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube. Just, Google us, hey, and find us.
All right. On that note, thank you.